Today, I thought I would try a different approach in this video, and I thought I would speak about raw thoughts versus prepared thoughts as an INFJ personality type. And in most of my videos that I've done so far that have been specifically, I guess, if you want to call it INFJ. And I say that because honestly, everything on my channel is INFJ because I am an INFJ. So, the way I express myself in all of my videos, that's just who I am. But when I'm actually, I guess, getting down to the brass tacks of what it is to be an INFJ, in those videos, I find that I have definitely taken the more prepared approach in making them. In other words, I'm not going off the cuff. I'm spending a lot of time thinking about what I wish to say. There's a lot of letting my intuition guide me, and I am writing about it and thinking a lot about it. And I end up writing about it and then reading my writing, and that's what you hear. That's what I'm putting out there. And I was thinking about that because someone left a comment on one of my videos, you know who you are, that said that you admired how well I expressed myself. And I laughed because I don't think I express myself very well unless I do it in a prepared way. Or I guess that's what I've always believed. And so I said to this person, I couldn't let him think that that's how it is because I do a lot of preparation for these videos. And then I likened my thoughts to food. I said that, like a steak, my raw thoughts are not palatable. A raw steak. They need to be marinated and cooked in order for them to taste good and be more digestible. And that was how I answered it. And after I answered that, now, of course, after I said that thought now has been marinating, has been turning around in my mind over and over. And now I'm thinking to myself, after I've been watching other INFJ videos, I've been thinking to myself, is that true? Is there only value, or have I been only seeing value in the organized or the prepared thoughts? And right away, I had to say to myself, or I had to come to the conclusion that the prepared thoughts are not the only valuable thoughts out there. And I think I'm learning this because I'm watching INFJ videos, and I'm watching people who are in the raw, and they're incredibly inspirational to me. Like, they get my intuition going in a way that's very hard to explain. So I've been thinking about this, the differences between raw and prepared thoughts, and when we should be raw and when we should be prepared. So I'm going to try to talk through this, and I'm going to start by saying I think being raw, especially on a platform such as this, is a very scary thing because, well, at least for me, it makes me feel very vulnerable because I'm not totally comfortable in this place, where I'm just expressing my thoughts, kind of just allowing my train of thought to go where it will. There's a vulnerability in that because I guess I have always believed for most of my life that it's not valuable. It's not something that I should be showing to the world. And I guess, in some cases, certain people, they're not going to be receptive to it, because I've seen the comments, from directed to INFJ and INTJ personality types. You talk too slow. I had to speed up the video, blah, 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 all that. And I think that for some types, we don't talk fast enough. And that just kind of, I think for me, it's kind of made me hesitant to put myself out there in this way. But at the same time, it's who I am. It's how I express myself when I'm talking. There's a different me in the writing, I guess. I mean, in the writing, I'm definitely more organized, and I feel like I can express myself much more eloquently. But at the same time, this is who I am. And you could say that, I could work on becoming better at expressing my thoughts out loud, but I don't really see it as a weakness anymore. I used to, but I don't see it as a weakness anymore. And that's because I think it's very valuable to just sit and talk and just see where your thoughts go. Now, I realize, not everyone's going to be receptive to that, and I get that. But I think for the right people, that raw thought process can be extremely valuable. And I'm just going to say that based on my own experiences watching INFJ and INTJ videos, because I am incredibly inspired listening to these two types in the raw, because there's so much that's said. And honestly, I have trouble when I watch videos, long INFJ, INTJ videos that are in the raw, because I get a million thoughts while I'm listening. And if it's a long video, I've actually taken to opening up a Word document, and I just start jotting down my thoughts as I listen, just so I can actually focus on what the person is saying, because I have to empty my mind, because they're inspiring so many thoughts that I just have to jot them down so that I can return to them later, because I know they're going to be developed and they're going to lead to very interesting places. So, and then not only that, I also write them down because I would love to then maybe bring them up to that person that's making the video, because they'll just toss things out there, and I would love to hear them expound on those thoughts as well. So I am very inspired by videos that are in the raw, they just get my intuition going, like I said, in this amazing way. And I also think that there's so many benefits to it. I believe that it helps the person who is speaking. So in this case, it helps me to more fully develop my thoughts, and perhaps become better at verbally expressing myself. And I also, like I said, I think it also inspires the person who's listening in some way, the right person. So I can see the value in the raw thought process. And I also see the value in the prepared, presentation. So when you organize your thoughts, or what I've been doing when I've organized my thoughts, I think it's a great practice to organize our thoughts, especially for me, because I do it through writing. And I think it's a good discipline. And I also think, when I do these videos, mostly I'm doing them for INFJ personality types. But I'm also doing them because I recognize that there are people out there who are in a relationship with an INFJ, and perhaps they want to understand their partner better. And maybe they would like to listen to an INFJ perspective, just to help them understand that loved one more. And so I'm also kind of thinking of that person and how I present my thoughts, because, other types might need to hear a more organized approach, not this whole rambling thing, where I'm going off every single rabbit trail that crosses my mind. So, because I'm musical, I was kind of likening this whole process to music. I think it just depends on what I'm trying to convey, and even perhaps who I'm trying to reach. So for me, if you want to make a musical analogy, it's kind of like the prepared thoughts. Now I'm a pianist and a vocalist, so it's kind of like the prepared thoughts are sort of like putting that difficult classical music piece out there. Like, for instance, if I would want to put a Chopin piece out there to perform, I have to prepare it. I have to organize it. I have to practice. I can't just get out there and do Chopin off the cuff. So that's the organized side or the prepared side. But on the other hand, and of course that's very valid, musical expression, to be able to sit there and play a piece that you have dedicated hours to learning and perfecting. But on the other hand, there's also another style of music, just improvisational music, where you make it up as you go along, and and it's the same way as a thought process. You just start with sort of a goal in mind, but you have sort of a structure. In music, it's the chords, but you sort of let yourself go where you want to go. Like you have like a skeleton, like a skeleton guide sort of, but then you let yourself wander within. And improvisational music is a very valid form of making music. It's a very valid form of musical expression. And I liken that to the raw thoughts. So in my mind, both this improvisational music and the kind where you practice hours and hours, it's both very valid. They're equally valid. And so that's kind of how I see, our raw thoughts versus our prepared thoughts. And I even think of it like as far as a food analogy, like you think about raw food and then you think about prepared food. Sometimes you need to eat the raw food because it's most beneficial in its raw state, certain types of foods. And then you cook the food, like, okay, for instance, broccoli. You can eat broccoli in a raw state, but a lot of people have problems digesting broccoli because it can be very hard on the digestive system. So broccoli is a food that's not probably best eaten raw. It's really best prepared. In the case of broccoli, it's best prepared lightly steamed, but it's best prepared in some way, and that's how you can get the most out of it. So some food, definitely eating it in the raw is best. And if you take that food and then you try to prepare it or cook it, you actually lose something in the process. You lose like the nutritional value. And then, on the opposite end, like the broccoli, if you eat it raw, you're not going to get much out of it. And it's actually better if you prepare it or cook it in some way. And so I was just kind of thinking about that. And I'm kind of curious to maybe start to make more videos where I am more raw. And it's a little scary for me, to be more vulnerable in this way, but I think I'm going to attempt it because I think it's very beneficial. And I know that because I've been so inspired by people who have done just that out there. So, what are your thoughts about this? What do you think about raw thoughts versus prepared thoughts? Do you have anything to add to this conversation? Because I think my goal, and more than anything here, is just I want to create a dialogue. I really want to have these deep conversations with like-minded people. So if you have anything to add, I would love to hear your feedback. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.